Hello everybody, my name is X Factor. Today we're going to be talking about whether Overwatch is worth it. Should you be pre-ordering it? Is it worth your hard-earned money? Well, the good news is this. If you're not sure after watching this video, there is an open beta to everybody on current gen, that's Xbox One and PS4, and of course the PC platform, that's May 5th through 9th. Blizzard is not afraid to put this product in front of you, nor should they be. This is the most polished game I've ever seen in a beta ready to go to release. It might be the most polished game I've ever seen released, and that's saying a lot. I come from the Quake series. I played a ton of TF2, and of course you guys mostly know me from the Battlefield world. Pretty much played every title out there. I've seen some amazing releases, and I've seen some really bad releases where the game's not stable, the client's not stable, and there's a million bugs and glitches in between. Not to mention some of the current titles that have launched over the last year or so from various developers. There are some horror stories out there right now, including some ideas behind games that are absolutely fabulous, but just executed poorly, leaving consumers scratching their heads, wondering what they were smoking or drinking in their coffee that morning. So with that being said, the first thing I want to talk about is the fun factor of this game. I've had access to Overwatch throughout several of the betas, and I've had an absolute blast. It's something that has something for everybody, no matter what type of playstyle you have or what mood you're in. Do you want to go balls out assault? Well, there's quite a few heroes for you. How about sit back, play a little defense, or play a defensive character while assaulting because you want to hold the point that you just established or the choke point you established. Or you're lethargic, it's Monday, you're a little grumpy, grab a support player, maybe a hybrid DPS like Zenyatta. Or maybe you just want to float from the heavens like Mercy. Or your team composition sucks because everyone wants to be MLG Pro Sniper and you need to switch it up to help your team. There is something for everybody, and that adds to the spice of life when it comes to Overwatch. Another thing I really like about this game is the maps are designed for specific modes. Unlike a lot of developers out there, they don't try to cram 2, 3, 4, 5 game modes on a single map. So this is well thought out for fluidity, and then of course balance. So if there is a problem with a certain map at a certain spot, the developers will be able to adjust it. And that's the cool thing about it. These maps really open up and they condense down at choke points. There might only be 1 or 2 ways through at a specific choke point. Maybe there's 2, one's vertical, and there might be a third that's super sneaky that only a Pharah, a Black Widow, Genji, or maybe even Tracer can get through. I've seen some amazing people doing amazing things on these maps, going out of bounds and even under than up in the little gaps on certain maps. It's absolutely crazy. Another good thing about Overwatch that I like is they're not going to be dividing the community. What do I mean by that? All future heroes and maps, if and when they release them, will be free to everybody. They're not going to be behind DLCs, therefore not behind paywalls, and not splitting the community up like a lot of games do. You want those new 2, 3, or 4 hot maps, you got to buy the DLC. And what's that do to the community? Once you're 2 or 3 DLCs in, it just divides up the community. Some people are playing the new map, some people are playing the older DLC, some people are on the base game. It really limits the options for all. And speaking of options, what about aesthetics? Well, it's a Blizzard game. You're going to have a lot. Each hero has 54 to 55 unlocks available. That's everything from emotes to skins to voice lines. You name it, it's available. And they come to you 2 different ways. Loot crates, and then of course in-game currency. Now, there may be microtransactions when it comes to that, but it'll always be aesthetic. So the way you go, you gain XP, you gain these loot crates, and you open them up, and there's some random stuff in there you could equip and your different heroes. But let's say you really want a skin. Number one, you could preview the skin in the game. You could preview the voice line. And then if you like it, you can buy it with the in-game credits that you've earned through your loot crates. The high-end skins go for 1,000 credits. The cheapy skins, the base skins, go for 75. And then, of course, voice lines, sprays for that specific character, and everything else is somewhere in between. So if you only play a handful of characters or want to focus on a specific one, you can pimp that ride extremely quickly, just like Exhibit did it in the old days. So Overwatch is only launching with 3 game modes, and again, all the maps and modes will actually be available in the open beta on May 5th through 9th. They're not holding anything back. So you'll be able to get your hands on Assault, which I'm playing now, Escort, aka Payload, a la TF2 style, And Control, aka King of the Hill. Obviously, with Salt, it's about turning that first point. You need one more guy than they have to start the bleed of that point, or you just destroy their team off of it, stop their next spawn. You guys cap it, you move up your spawn point, it's on to the second assault point. Escort, aka Payload. There are multiple points you got to get the cart to. The cart heals the assaulters, and of course, the game progresses as long as you have time. But as long as somebody's on a control point or they're on the cart, the game goes to overtime. If somebody else gets on it when the other guy dies, it'll keep going for the assaulters. It really creates some hair-raising experiences. And probably the craziest one of them all is Control, aka King of the Hill. It's best out of 3. So you have to control this point for a set amount of time. It's the first to 100%, and it's a tick. Every moment you hold it, it's an extra tick towards that 100%. And again, it's best out of 3. I've won rounds 100 to 99. I've come back from getting smashed in the first round to barely win the second and to smash them on the third. It's absolutely nuts when a team has a 5 or 6 stack defending a point and you actually have to mount a retake and then hold it through people's ultimates, flanks, and everything else that can go wrong and just go crazy in this game. It's absolutely awesome. I truly enjoy the 3 game modes. It'll be interesting to see what other game modes they add to the game as it progresses. And remember, these game modes are specific to the maps. The next thing I want to talk about is my first concern for Overwatch, which is a pretty big deal in online multiplayers or first-person shooters. Cheating, hacking, or scripting just occurs on the PC. It's something you simply cannot stop. So no matter how good the anti-cheat, it's gonna happen. My question is this: how good's the back end on this game, and how good is gonna the detection, and then of course wiping these guys out with the ban waves? It's gonna happen. Is Blizzard prepared? And my thought is, and my concern is, this is their first-person shooter. Is this game coded properly so that they can actually keep track of what's really going on? Is somebody toggling on? Are they locking onto heads? Are they hitting all kinds of crazy headshots and it's not matching the player's mouse movement or normal stuff that should be happening that even high-end players can't do? So only time will tell. But as we've seen with the Division, that's something that can quickly kill a title on the PC. Another concern I have is matchmaking will not be available at launch according to various reports. The question is, will they be able to tidy up and fix their matchmaking system, or will it be matchmaking nightmares for both high-level and low-level teams? And how will the ranking system work? Because that's part of the equation. The next thing I want to talk about is friends lists, and this happens to be affecting PC and current-gen consoles as well. You get in a party with your friends, you go to queue up, and it takes you 3, 4, 5 minutes to get in a match. Maybe you get in a match, and you're stuck in skirmish mode for what feels like forever. We know there's a ton of people playing this. And when you finally do get in a match, your friend might drop out. Even though it's just casual mode, even though he might have hard crashed the game, or the game dumped him to the start menu, he should have time to be able to jump back in. That's happened to myself or my gaming buddy several times, which results in the rest of us just bailing on the match. I feel bad, but the entire point of me joining that match was to actually play with my friends. So if that's something they can adjust and fix, that'd be a big improvement until they get matchmaking in the game. So what about hit registration and connection? Well, on the PC side, it's been really, really good. Shots are precise. They're hitting when they need to be. There have been some issues and reports with Roadhog's hook, but for the most part, I'm extremely happy with the hit registration on the PC side. There has been some reports with current-gen consoles that there could be some issues, but those might be lag-oriented. If the server is lagging, if people on the server are lagging, there will be hit registration issues. You can't have one without the other. But if there is no lag and there's still hit registration issues, that could be a bigger problem. So how about balance? Every game's got balance issues, right? The question is, how bad is it? Some games are nightmares, and they've been out for multiple years. There's things that developers just refuse to take a look at or fix. The good news is this: there really are no glaring issues with Overwatch as it stands right now. The attackers, defenders, tanks, and support heroes are very nicely balanced. The only question is your team running an appropriate comp? Because that's the biggest problem I see with most teams. 3 or 4 Reapers YOLOing it in, or a bunch of people going MLG Sniper, of course you're going to get crushed. It's more about the team composition and if you're willing to switch to something that's going to help your team succeed on that given objective. There's absolutely nothing wrong with switching your heroes midway through the battle to help make a push, stop a push, or cement yourself in a very specific position. Lastly, a couple things I'd like to see added on the PC side. A click to zoom for when you're playing Black Widow. And then although you can adjust the sensitivity specific to the hero, there is no specific number that you can input. It's base numbers of sensitivity, 10, 11, 12, based on your DPI, which isn't good. Give us the ability to add 2 decimal places, whether through an INI config file or the in-game menu. Overall, I'm extremely impressed with Overwatch. This is probably one of the most impressive betas, and more than likely one of the most impressive launches I've ever seen as a gamer. I honestly have to say, as it stands right now, bearing that there's no problem with hackers, cheaters, glitchers, script kiddies on PC, fixed matchmaking, and some of the connections issues with the friends lists, this really could be a 9 to 9.5 out of 10 for me. But that's based on what Blizzard needs to tidy up. As it stands with everything that's going on, even without matchmaking, I gotta give this game a solid 8 to 8.5. So hopefully that helps you guys decide whether you should jump in the open beta and even pick up the game. Remember, that's May 5th through 9th on all platforms. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And let me know what you guys think down below.